In its fresh statement, Twitter says it is concerned by events regarding Indian employees. Twitter states potential threat to freedom of expression is witnessed. Also says there is a use of intimidation tactics by the police. Twitter talks about the provisions of the IT laws as a dangerous overreach. Twitter also calls the rules inconsistent with democratic principles. That's the latest coming in here on Mirror Now, with Twitter now reacting to the Delhi police visit to Twitter office in Delhi. Let me get in Ayushman to talk us through the important updates coming in right now. So Ayushman, Twitter has called this intimidation tactics, calling it dangerous or outreach on the part of the government. Now, that just shows that Twitter is not taking this lying down. First, it approached the Delhi High Court, stating why it cannot comply with the new IT rules. Now it is reacting to the action taken by Delhi police earlier when it visited the Twitter office.
Frida, the Twitter has in fact given the on-record statement in which Twitter is clearly saying that they are committed to people of India and to keep these services available. They are striving to apply with the applicable law, but they continue to be strictly guided by the principle of transparency. Right now, they are concerned by the recent events which have happened with the employees in India, and there is a potential threat of freedom of expression for the people we serve. This is what on-record statement has said, Afrida. And Twitter has also, we have been told that they have said that they are concerned about the requirement of making an individual criminally liable for the content on the platform, because the government of India new rule says that you need to have the redressal officer. So Twitter is talking about that, and it clearly says that this represents a dangerous overreach that is inconsistent with open and democratic principles for holding a person accountable, criminally liable for the content of the platform. The Twitter has urged Union IT Ministry for a minimum period or extension of 3 months is what they are saying. They also say that they continue to accept the grievances from the users. And again, they have said that important aspect of this entire statement is the recent visit that we saw of the Delhi police, where clearly they have said that they are feeling that the potential threat of freedom of expression is definitely there for the people they are serving.
Yes, coming to the other point, Ayushman, which you were reporting earlier on the center's response to WhatsApp's explanation. So both Twitter and WhatsApp have come out with a very strong defense on why they are sticking to their position. Of course, in this case, you're telling us they are only seeking an extension to implement the rules, but at the same time, they have also expressed their displeasure for having to comply with this new set of rules. Tell us about the center's response earlier that we were reporting on.
Well, the Union IT Minister has given the response, and he has clearly said that what they are asking for in context of WhatsApp, that has been said that what they are asking is not the breach of end-to-end encryption, but only in certain cases where there is a genuine problem. Then the government is demanding that. And it is not that the government is saying that the right to privacy doesn't matter, but there also the Twitter has to understand, the WhatsApp has to understand that the rule of law, rule of land, the government of India has made, and that has to be abided by.
Yes, absolutely. The government there had said that it respects the right to privacy. It has no intention to violate it. And WhatsApp is required to disclose the origin of a particular message, which WhatsApp says is not possible without breaking the encryption code. That's one part of the story. The other that Ayushman is reporting right now is Twitter's response to government action, saying this is an overreach of government powers inconsistent with democratic principles, but at the same time also saying, Ayushman, that they are willing to consider it. Now, what is the kind of extension that they are seeking for it, and why exactly do they need that much of time, Ayushman?
Well, Afrida, according to Twitter, it has been made clear that they are clearly concerned of the fact that one individual, the name of that post will be the compliance officer, to hold that person criminally liable for the content on the platform, for the requirement of proactive monitoring and blanket authority to seek information about the customers who are using Twitter is something that is a dangerous overreach of the law, and that is inconsistent with democratic principles. This is what Twitter says, and that is the reason they are saying that they want 3 months' time. Now, remember, the government had already given time till 25th May. They didn't abide by. Yesterday, the government had written to the social media companies to respond as soon as possible. What have they done on the new media ethics code? Yesterday evening, that came from the Ministry of Information Technology, and today we are seeing Twitter, who had maintained silence so far. Now they are also coming out and they are saying that they want an extension, and also they are concerned about the changes that are being asked to do in the organizational setup.
Yes, and plus raising the issue of threat and intimidation tactics, which Twitter says is highly objectionable, and they protest this as a potential threat to freedom of expression. So all of that coming in the statement released by Twitter, which is attributable to Twitter spokesperson, where he talks about how certain policies taken by the Indian government is inconsistent with democratic principles. Let me now introduce cyber expert Prashant Mali joining us on the phone line. Good afternoon, Mr. Mali. At this point, we are looking at the issue of how the government has decided that there would be new IT rules for social media intermediaries. The deadline has passed, but in the meanwhile, there is a lot of action around the Twitter offices being so-called raided in Delhi, and then WhatsApp taking the matter to court. Where do you stand on this issue? Do you think that there is a duplicity on the part of the social media intermediaries as well, or do you tend to agree that this is a government overreach?
Now, about what Twitter is saying that you can't make one person responsible. That's completely false. Now, if you look at all our labor laws, there is one person always made responsible, and he is the general manager. And when we have this jurisprudence across the country, how can you object? And when it comes to criminal law, there has to be one person who has to be held responsible. And it is rightly said that there should be one person, and that this person here, if it is chief compliance officer or grievance officer, his team, and not the CEO. We are not asking CEO also. So
yes.
I don't find any wrong in their arguments of coming out just to buy some time. And see, now they're asking time for 3 months is not good on their intention part. If you had some intention to comply with Indian laws, you could have started that. You could have started that in 3 months, and you could have said that we are in midway, and the rest can be done a little later. But this they have to fix at their end. You can't keep bulldozing government's thing for establishing legal framework, social media legal framework in the country. So this is just crying wolf when government is after you. And now, since the IT rules, the time has already gone. So IT rules 2021 are applicable, and under which sections police can file various FIRs in various states. It is not only Delhi. Now, suppose tomorrow you have some issue with some defamatory Twitter or defamatory WhatsApp-related post, and you go to the local police station in any state. Now, because IT Rules 2021 is active, and so any police station can file multiple cases across the country. They're open. They should have thought before now. Now, crying wolf is not a point.
Yes, and that's exactly what the centre has said in its response as well, that at the first instance when the rules were announced, at that time these problems were not pointed out, that it is not possible to trace the originator of the message in the case of WhatsApp. And similarly in the case of Twitter also, you're saying that now they're asking for another extension, but what is the specific problem they have in appointing a redressal officer? Mr. Mali, could you explain to us when you say that there must be a nodal person, a points person in every country? Is that how it works across the world?
100% it works. Like if when it comes to privacy law, there is somebody called as DPO, Data Protection Officer. Every company has to have after some
Okay.
jurisdictional limits. So the DPO is responsible there. The DPO gets responsible for all the thing. And in India also, as I told you before, we have all those labor laws, etc. And all those labor laws, etc. There is a general manager of the company. It's a statutory position, and when it's statutory position, then statutory things will be binding to him. So when he signs up for the job, he knows what is his responsibilities and how he should behave with it. So now, after so long, they are coming and talking is just disrespect towards Indian laws. And what government is doing is to just bring in some kind of legal framework and rule of law in the country.
Right. Yes, but even as you say that, the opposition party leaders are raising the issue of whether this is an attempt to stifle freedom of expression on social media and gain larger control over it. Let me bring in Anima Singh joining us as well. Good afternoon, Anima Singh. I want to ask you with regards to the statement coming from Twitter, and they are saying that we are concerned by the recent events regarding our employees in India and the potential threat to freedom of expression for the people we serve. And it says, we alongside many in civil society in India around the world have concerns with regards to intimidation tactics by the police in response to enforcement of global terms of service and as well as the core elements of the new IT rules. So in your enforcement of the new IT rules, Anima Singh, there's been an attempt to threaten and intimidate is what the Twitter spokesperson is alleging.
Twitter is concerned about its company, and Indian government is concerned about the country and the countryman. But the pattern which we are observing in today's date is astonishing. Why? Because we are seeing the parallel in between the statements given by the Twitter as the company and the opposition. Somehow I feel that there is some sort of understanding in between the two. But the thing is, why Twitter doesn't want to be responsible if from their platform anybody is trying to spread something vicious in our country, then why shouldn't we make Twitter responsible for that? So they should not try to preach us or teach us that what is the right of privacy. We know it very well, and we know it because our constitution gives that. But as a good government, it is our duty that we have to check that wrong should not be spread and right should be strengthened. And in that, I can see that Twitter is not cooperating. That is absolutely wrong.
So, the concerns, Anima Singh, is from the opposition as well, that this is an attempt to, overreach, to kind of control social media as well. What would be your response to the opposition parties, Anima Singh?
I have to say, if there is nothing wrong on this platform, if there is no sort of conspiracy against the nation, if there is no sort of hate spread amongst our countrymen via this platform, then they do not have to worry about. The simple request is that you have to provide the information which government wants if there is some sort of malicious tweets or the message is on the platform. So what is wrong in that? But why opposition is so much worried about it? Because we have seen...
Right to privacy, Anima Singh, and it's a debate, it's a healthy, constructive debate that both sides must have, that how much is okay and how much is too much in terms of government intervention when it comes to social media intermediaries operating in India. Thank you so much, Anima Singh and Prashant Mali, for joining us on this conversation.